Hi everyone, and welcome to this session, Generative AI, What You Should Know. I'm Anthony O'Brien, the Copyright Advisor here at the University, and I'll be your presenter today. But before we get into the content, firstly, the library would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the lands of our footprint areas and from where we join this session or watch this recording. We pay respect to elders past and present and acknowledge the relationship of First Nations peoples with the land, waters and sky of this country. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. So this session, very short session. It's just going to cover the basics and the use of AI here at the university. To learn more, we suggest you check out the library's online guide, and we're going to give the link for that at the end of the session. Generative AI, it's very much an evolving space. Terminology, platforms, and the uses will change, of course, over time. We could probably spend just a whole session talking about this one slide. But as a quick note for those that might need a refresher, generative AI are systems that create content outputs based on textual inputs from users. And these are known as prompts, these inputs. So we're going to use the word prompts a fair bit. So the systems create this, they do this magic via algorithms that are trained on staggeringly vast amounts of data. In a very short period of time, AI have progressed from providing short text answers to more complex ones, to image generators, and now video generators are becoming more common. So by the time you graduate, there will likely be even more tools available and more options for you to use those tools. So how can you make use of these AI systems here at the university? Currently, the university's position for students has two approaches. You may have already seen a set of slides detailing these in your courses, but for those that haven't, here's a bit of background. So one use for learning is generally allowed. So these are uses like explaining jargon and complex concepts, summarizing information to help you understand it, and generating practice questions, that sort of thing. So anything for learning. Use for assessments, however, is a bit more complex. So you may see the cues on the right there, so you can see the ones for not permitted, the middle there, and then the expected. So these are cues that you probably see in your course that coordinators have been asked to include, just to make it clearer for students about what is expected or allowed within an assignment. And don't assume that AI is going to be allowed for every assessment task, always check. And when using AI, just be aware you may not get the best results from basic text prompts. Keep this in mind that you may need to change how you structure your prompts to get the best results. And you can ask for things like dot points, tables, you can adjust the complexity of the answer that it provides, and so on. Our online guide has more information on this. And if you are using AI, we'll cover how to identify that you've done so a little bit later in the session. So, AI systems are products of the data that they've been trained on, along with any guidelines that may have been added by the creators or programmers. These systems are very much not experts, and they can get it wrong. You may have seen the image on the right that's been floating around on social media recently. So basically, when asked to generate images of America's founding fathers, this is from Google's Gemini system. It created 4 images of men of color. So why did this happen? Because it's obviously not historically accurate. Basically, there are lots of limitations to the training data in these systems. And it's something you really need to be aware of. So the data could be out of date due to when it was collected. So for example, ChatGPT 3.5 stopped collecting data in 2021. There could be particular biases that have worked their way into the training data that focus on particular regions of the world, or ethnicities, or genders, and even age and ability groups. And also keep in mind, AI systems are not human. They probably won't be able to differentiate between basic patterns that they see in systems and actual systematic bias that humans have introduced into systems. So keep that in mind. So in this case, the program has tried to overcome some of these potential biases by having the system generate people of varied ethnic backgrounds. It unfortunately wasn't appropriate for the question, and as you can imagine, it caused quite a stir online. So also keep in mind, AI systems have been known to plagiarize some of the sources that they've taken in. They can also just make up fake sources. And this is known as hallucinating. So our guide has a great video if you'd like to know more about how these AI systems actually hallucinate. So long story short, don't assume that any output from an AI is accurate or correct. More on this a little bit later. So on the copyright side of things, AI also has complexities around the ownership of inputs and outputs. Most of their training data was sourced from copyright materials online, and there are numerous court cases happening around the world about whether or not this was actually an infringing use or not. There's also confusion around who owns the outputs from these AI systems. So currently in Australia, copyright law suggests that these outputs are not copyrightable due to the lack of an actual human author. It's also important to remember that whatever information or data that you share with an AI system usually becomes part of that system. So sharing your work or personal details, not recommended at all. So keep that in mind. So here's an interesting example from something that I worked on recently. So I asked whether memes were legal under Australian copyright law, and it was something I was just playing around with. So I asked the same question on different days because I needed to do screenshots, and they provided very different answers, even though it's the same system. So the one on the left suggested that things were perfectly fine under Australian law, even though it actually only mentions completely unrelated information, and the sources that it links at the bottom suggest otherwise. So I'm not sure what happened there. The one on the right, however, is actually a more nuanced view that actually speaks to copyright. The one on the left doesn't mention copyright at all. So be aware, answers from these systems can vary, and you always need to confirm the information that's being provided. So we've talked about this a few times already, but always confirm whether you're using AI is appropriate for an assignment or the course, confirm how you're allowed to use it within the course or the assignment, and confirm whether the answers provided by the AI are actually appropriate to use. Ask a course coordinator if it isn't clear for your course, and always be transparent with when and how you've used an AI tool. So our referencing guides can actually show you how to cite your use of AI tools across the different styles, so please go and check them out. Please also keep in mind, in addition to checking for plagiarism, or suspected plagiarism, I should say, Turnitin, which is our system that looks at all student assessments, also now checks for potential use of AI by student submissions. That's really important that you keep this in mind and you're transparent about any use that you have. So I mentioned it a few times, but here's our online guide. So libguides.newcastle.edu.au/AI. So you may have already come across this guide. It was sent out as part of an email that went out to all students at the start of semester. So the contents of the guide are labeled up there, but it includes links to AI tools, tips for use, some helpful videos, which I really recommend you check out, and more. I might just duck out of the slide quickly, just to show everybody what it looks like. So here's the guide here. So you can see it's very easy to navigate. If you need to know more about the basics, go to the first box. AI at Newcastle talks about the university's approaches. Using AI has the tips, tricks, and links to tools. AI for research, so if you're working in that space, there's some great information there, including publisher policies. Issues and considerations looks at copyright, ethics, all that fun stuff. And resources is all the stuff that we've collected together that's going to hopefully be useful. So that's the content for today. Thank you for coming. And remember, think of these tools as assistants, not experts. They shouldn't be doing the work for you. You need to show your own learning and research yourself. Questions? I have a question in the room.
So I'm just wondering, say I want to use generative AI tools to help me draft a response to an assignment question.
Mm-hmm.
Can I put the assignment question into the tool, or am I better off drafting my own response first and then asking the AI to work off my draft response?
That's a very good question. It really comes down to what the course coordinator or tutors have said you can do with the assessment. So there may be certain assessments where you are expected to generate a basic output for the whole question. and then you might need to take it and tweak it and make it more your own. And I'm not just thinking in terms of text results here. So design courses, for example, might get you to use an image generator and then you tweak it. But then there are also cases where you may just need to get rather than asking it to answer the question, it may be more suitable in the terms of the assessment. Again, keep in mind, it really depends what your lecturer is allowing you to do. You may be able to provide, get the output to be made for, say, an essay structure that you then fill in yourself. So it really depends on what your lecturer has allowed to do both within the course and within a particular assessment. So don't assume anything. If in doubt, ask. Any questions from online? Just remember, we have our lovely online guide. It has lots and lots of useful information. Please go and check it out. And if you'd like to see anything added to the guide, we have a feedback section. Please fill it in and let us know what you'd like us to include. Thank you very much.